I sat on my well-worn couch, the cushions holding the shape of many previous prayers, just like this one. Today, however, felt different. I needed an answer, and I needed it to be unmistakable. I was done with hints. I was tired of subtle clues. I prayed, and my prayer was a demand for miracle. I wanted a sign from the heavens, something big and bold and loud. I envisioned the sky parting, a booming voice echoing through my suburban neighborhood, maybe even a little bit of celestial thunder for good measure. I wanted a sign that would leave no room for doubt, a divine billboard just for me. Ever prayed for a sign and secretly hoped for a full-blown Hollywood production? I was there, holding my breath, waiting for the show to start. I closed my eyes tighter, trying to concentrate all my spiritual energy. "Lord, speak clearly," I said, my voice filling the quiet living room. I said it again, louder this time, as if volume might improve the connection. I rubbed my palms together, a nervous habit I'd had since I was a kid. My imagination went into overdrive. I pictured a brilliant, blinding light flooding my home, so bright it would make the neighbors peek through their blinds. I imagined a choir of angels, trumpets blaring, the whole 9 yards. I wanted a movie moment, the kind where the main character finally understands their destiny, complete with a dramatic soundtrack. I was ready for my close-up with the Almighty. I waited. The silence that followed was profound, almost mocking. I strained my ears, listening for anything out of the ordinary. All I heard was the familiar low hum of my refrigerator kicking on. Outside, a car drove by, its tires hissing on the damp pavement. I could even hear the soft, rhythmic thumping of my own anxious heart. I waited a little longer, just in case there was a heavenly delay. I glanced at my phone, half expecting a text message with an angelic emoji. "Maybe he's sending the sign now," I mumbled to myself, feeling a mix of hope and foolishness. The grand display I had ordered was apparently on back order, so I decided to try again, this time with more feeling. I upped the ante. I started making promises, the kind you make when you're desperate. I promised to be a better person, to finally start that new habit I'd been putting off for months. I promised to be kinder to my grumpy neighbor and to call my mom more often. I felt a strange mix of sincerity and a little bit of pride in my own spiritual bargaining. I felt a little silly too, like a child trying to convince a parent. I just wanted the sign to be as grand as my promises, a divine validation that my prayer had been received and approved with a celestial stamp. In the quiet of my waiting, my mind wandered. I started to picture what heaven might be like on a regular Tuesday, like today. In my head, it wasn't just clouds and harps. It was a bustling, organized operation, something like a divine corporate headquarters. I saw fluffy white clouds shaped like office cubicles and a grand golden desk at the center of it all. Angels with celestial clipboards and glowing tablets hurried back and forth, their wings rustling softly. Over a large archway, a glowing sign read, "Heavenly Assignment Department." This, I imagined, was where prayers like mine ended up, sorted and processed with divine efficiency. I pictured a kind-faced angel with reading glasses perched on his nose, pulling my file from a shimmering cabinet. I saw him reading my request, a gentle, amused smile playing on his lips.
"This one here wants a sign," he might say to a colleague leaning over his shoulder. The other angel, perhaps a bit more pragmatic, might chuckle softly and reply, "He wants the big package."
Thunder, lightning, the works. I could almost hear their light-hearted conversation, a tender inside joke about the dramatic pleas of mortals. They were not mocking me, but they understood the human heart's desire for the spectacular, even when the simple was sufficient. Then, in the middle of my daydream, I heard it. A sound, real and solid, pulled me back to my living room. Knock, knock, knock. It was a simple, unassuming sound. It was the sound of knuckles on my front door. It was most certainly not a trumpet blast. It was not a clap of thunder. It was just a soft, polite tapping, the kind a neighbor might make when they've come to borrow a cup of sugar. The sound was so ordinary, so completely normal, that my first instinct was to dismiss it entirely. It didn't fit the script I had written in my head. I froze, my body tense. I waited, listening, my heart starting to beat a little faster. No, that can't be it, I thought, my mind racing. That's just someone at the door. I looked around the room, still scanning for a shimmering light or a floating feather. I wanted more. I desperately wanted the flood of divine light I had imagined, the sky opening up to reveal a cosmic secret. The knock came again, just as gentle as before. Knock, knock, knock. Still soft, still small. It was a patient sound, a sound that was willing to wait, but it was a sound I was perilously close to ignoring. With a heavy sigh, I decided I had to answer the door, if only to get rid of the interruption so I could get back to my very important business of waiting for a miracle. I stood up, my joints creaking in protest. I walked to the front door, my footsteps slow and reluctant. I still held a sliver of hope, but it seemed highly unlikely. I leaned forward and peeked through the small peephole, my eyes squinting to see who was on the other side. What I saw wasn't what I expected at all. There was no blinding light, but there was a soft, gentle glow. It wasn't a spotlight from the heavens, but more like the warm, comforting light of a lantern on a dark night. The figure standing on my porch was bathed in this gentle radiance. I could see the outline of a person, but they didn't look like the mighty armor-clad angels from paintings and movies. There were no giant feathered wings. There was no flaming sword. This person looked kind. They were holding a small, simple box in their hands. They looked a little tired, like someone who had been on a long journey, but their expression was one of infinite patience and a hint of gentle humor. I took a deep breath and opened the door, just a crack at first. The figure smiled, and the warmth of it reached me instantly, melting some of the tension in my shoulders.
"Delivery," the person said, their voice calm and steady. It was a voice that sounded like it had spoken 1,000 truths and was not in a hurry to speak another. "Delivery from the head office." They gestured vaguely upwards.
The messenger looked both anciently wise and endearingly fed up, like a delivery driver who has seen it all and just wants to complete the job so they can finally sit down for a minute. My mind was still catching up. I blinked, feeling incredibly silly. Part of me was still waiting for the fireworks, for the ground to shake, for the sky to put on a show. I had begged and pleaded for a sign, a massive, undeniable confirmation. And now, standing on my threshold, was the answer. It wasn't a cosmic event, it was a quiet visitor. It wasn't a booming declaration, it was a simple delivery. The sign I had demanded had arrived, not with a roar, but with a gentle knock. I had almost been too stubborn to answer. The messenger nodded at me, a knowing look in their eyes. It was as if they knew the entire backstory, my dramatic prayer, my demand for a spectacle, and my near refusal to answer the door.
"Your next step is ready," the figure said, their voice carrying a quiet authority that was more powerful than any shout. They held out the small, plainly wrapped box. "Start here."
The instruction was direct, simple, and completely devoid of the drama I had craved. They did not unfurl a celestial scroll or present a list of grand miracles I was to perform. They just gave me a small thing, a small task, a place to begin. I stared at the messenger, then at the box. I was speechless. My mind was a whirlwind of confusion and dawning realization. I had asked for a mountain, and I had been given a single stone. I had asked for a symphony, and I had received a single, quiet note. I had wanted proof that would satisfy my ego, and instead I was given a task that would require my humility. The messenger simply stood there, smiling faintly, allowing me the space to process this unexpected turn of events. The silence was filled not with awkwardness, but with a profound sense of peace. I looked at the box in their hands, then back at their face. Why like this? I finally managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper. I asked for a big sign.
The messenger shrugged, a gesture so human it was almost comical. Because loud signs can cause fear, they explained patiently. Because grand gestures can be overwhelming. Small steps are how hearts grow strong. You asked for help, and I was sent. That's all there is to it. The method of delivery is designed for the recipient. It was a simple, logical explanation that made perfect, humbling sense.
God is still speaking, but maybe not always in the way we expect. I slowly reached out and took the box. It was surprisingly light. The messenger's job was done. They gave me one last encouraging nod.
People are always looking for the fireworks, they said, their voice tinged with a gentle sadness. So they often miss the knock. They miss the small things.
Don't miss your message. With that, the gentle glow around them seemed to dim, and they turned and walked away, disappearing into the ordinary light of the afternoon. I was left standing in my doorway, holding a small box, my world feeling both smaller and infinitely larger than it had just moments before. I closed the door, the click of the latch echoing in the now silent house. I leaned against it for a moment, my heart beating a steady, calm rhythm. I looked down at the small brown box in my hands. It was no bigger than a shoebox, tied with simple twine. There was no golden seal, no angelic script. It was utterly, beautifully ordinary. For a moment, I hesitated. What could possibly be inside? What small thing could ever measure up to the grand answer I had been seeking? With a deep breath, I carried it to my kitchen table, placing it in a patch of sunlight. My fingers fumbled with the twine, my earlier dramatic desperation replaced by a quiet, hopeful curiosity. I carefully lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of soft white cloth, was a single object, a small, empty notebook. Tucked into the first page was a simple, handwritten note. It contained only 2 words, written in clean, elegant script. It read, "Start small." I stared at the words, reading them over and over. Start small. It wasn't a command from a thundering sky. It was a gentle invitation, a whisper of guidance. I felt a warm wave spread through my chest, a feeling of rightness, of truth settling deep inside me. I had been so focused on the destination that I had completely forgotten about the first step. I had asked for a loud, earth-shattering sign, and the sign had arrived as a whisper, pointing me toward humility and patience. I thought about my grand, sweeping prayers, my promises to change my entire life overnight. I had wanted a miracle to do the work for me. Instead, I had been given the tools to do the work myself, one small action at a time. I had been looking for a floodlight to illuminate my entire future, and I had missed the quiet help knocking at my door, offering me a simple lantern for the path directly ahead. A laugh escaped my lips. It started as a small chuckle and grew into a full, genuine laugh. I laughed at myself, at my foolish pride, at my spiritual theatrics. It was funny because it was so profoundly true. I had demanded thunder and ignored a knock. I had wanted the heavens to part and had nearly missed the messenger on my doorstep. I had been so busy composing my grand speech to God that I had forgotten the most important part of prayer: listening. The simple truth in that little box was more powerful than any thunderclap I could have imagined. Holding the notebook, I felt a shift inside me. The feeling of being lost and overwhelmed began to recede, replaced by a sense of purpose, however small. I thought about the messenger's words: start with kindness, call one person, give one smile, do one small task. It felt manageable. It felt possible. So, right there at my kitchen table, I started. I picked up my phone, not to check for divine texts, but to call a friend I hadn't spoken to in months. We talked for 10 minutes. It wasn't a profound conversation, but it left us both smiling. One small thing. After the call, I felt a little lighter. I sent a kind text to a family member who was having a tough week. I didn't offer grand advice, I just said I was thinking of them. Then, I looked around my messy living room, a source of constant, low-grade stress. Instead of feeling defeated by the scale of the task, I decided to clean just one small corner. I tidied a bookshelf. I wiped it down. I arranged the books neatly. Each small action didn't feel like a miracle. There were no trumpets. But as I worked, I felt my heart growing a little newer, a little cleaner, just like that corner of my room. The next week, I continued the experiment. I kept the notebook with me, jotting down one small, achievable goal each day. Take a walk and notice the trees. Write a thank you note. I started to watch my life change, not in a sudden, dramatic flash, but in a series of soft, bright steps. The heavy weight of uncertainty I had been carrying began to lift. I found myself sleeping better. I smiled more, not just at others, but to myself. My prayers became less about demanding answers and more about listening for the next small nudge. I began to see signs everywhere, not in the sky, but in the everyday. A conversation with a stranger at the grocery store felt like a message. A song on the radio seemed to hold a piece of advice. A moment of quiet in a busy day felt like a gift. These weren't the monumental signs I had once begged for, but they were more meaningful. They were signs I could interact with, signs that invited me to participate in my own journey. I was no longer a passive audience member waiting for a show. I was an active participant, learning to dance to a quieter, more beautiful rhythm. Now I understand. I finally get the lesson that arrived in that small, unassuming box. Thunder, lightning, part the seas, make the mountains shake. But more often, a quiet knock, voice of a kind friend, a simple sentence in a book, a small, unexpected opportunity on an ordinary Tuesday. The humble, gentle things of the world delivering profound messages. Don't miss your message. Don't spend all your time scanning the heavens for fireworks, celestial light shows. You might miss the gentle glow on your doorstep. Look for the knock. Listen for the quiet whisper in your heart. Notice the small helping hand reaching out. A friend offering to help. An idea popping into your head. A sudden urge to do one small, kind thing. These are not random coincidences, nudges of grace, invitations to begin. Small threads that lead you out of the maze. Be ready. Signs come in any size. A big dramatic sign, receive it with gratitude. A small quiet sign, no less holy, no less an answer. Both sent from a place of love. Both meant to help you on your way. Be open. Be humble. Be willing to answer the door when someone knocks. Even if you expected a full angelic choir, your big breakthrough might start with a very small beginning. Don't miss the message in your life. God is still speaking today and every day. Pay attention to the little nudges, the quiet whispers, the gentle knocks. They are not interruptions. They are the answer. They are the beginning of your path, the first step on a wonderful journey. Natural voice speed. Thanks for watching. If this blessed you, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more gospel comedy.